She is absolutely amazing. I adore her. But she is going to be training us on some incredible ways to understand your own personality, and then also market to understanding others' personalities as well. So to be able to utilize that in your Plexus business and have effective conversations. Y'all, this tool is not just, it transcends Plexus. It is such a good life skill in general. So take it away, Tami. We're so excited to hear from you.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for hopping on this morning and taking time out of your day. And I want to thank Amy for doing this. I mean, pushing for this, because I'm telling you, the last 90 days of the year, I too went Emerald in October. And so I know the power of the end of the year. And so I'm super, super excited. All the trainers, oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much. I mean, I'm inspired, I'm ready. But what today I want to talk to you guys about is, you know, with Plexus, we're all like gut health, right? And, you know, ancient philosophers, you know, back thousands of years ago, Hippocrates said, you know, all disease begins in the gut, right? And we believe that, we know that. He's not just an old ancient guy that doesn't know anything. We know that. But I want to kind of focus in on Socrates. Socrates said, know thyself. And so I really want us to really start unraveling and unpeeling the onion to really discover who we are. So when I began Plexus, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I was in education too. And so I was a teacher for a while. And then as a kid, I had a lot of stuff that went on in my life. My mom died as a kid. And so discovering, you know, why I felt the way I felt and all those things was very important to me. So I decided I wanted to be a counselor. And so I did that. I went and I became a counselor. And so when you are a kid, you really try to discover, what is it? You know, I remember being in high school thinking, what am I going to do with my life? You know, and so many of us, I think we find those things that we're proficient in. You know, we take these career inventories, we try to discover who we are, and then find a job and a purpose in life. But a lot of times, and I see this day in and day out with people, that they decide, they sell out basically. They decide, okay, they start seeing the realities of life, and they discover, okay, I've got to take these trade-offs. You know, I'm going to sacrifice my time, like Lauren said. I'm going to sacrifice my time in order to get by, right? The beautiful thing about this company, about network marketing, is we can be ourselves and not have to sell out and still make a difference. Okay. So we're going to talk about personalities. We're going to talk about the psychology of marketing. We're going to talk about a lot of things. And as I talk, I'm a 7. And there's different types of ways to kind of identify who you are and, you know, what your traits and your strengths and your weaknesses are. But I really like the Enneagram, because not only does it give you in-depth kind of analysis of your styles and stuff, but it also talks about your weaknesses. And I really am a big believer that I believe that we should really work with our strengths in every endeavor of life, but we also we can't ignore our weaknesses, because in order to improve and become the best you've got to be able to look at those weaknesses. But me and my weaknesses is I'm not a planner at all. I'm run, go, do it. But for you guys, I've got myself planned out, so I'm not squirreling out on y'all. Okay, so like I said, know thyself. So important. Whenever I first started Plexus, and I think this is the same for a lot of people, we watch videos, we do these trainings, and we start thinking, oh, I can never do that, or I want to be like that, and we start trying to mold ourselves according to someone else. I want you to really wipe that philosophy out, because what happens is when you try to model someone who's inherently wildly different than you, you're not going to be authentic. Okay, no matter how much you try to duplicate it, it's not going to be you. And so this is a really strong, it's important because like Lauren said before, confidence, she talked about confidence and power, being powerful. You're not going to truly be able to grasp this confidence within you if you're trying to be something you're not. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stay with my notes. I want y'all, okay, so we talked about the different, so many of you probably already know what your color personality is. There is an author named Big Al, and he does the color personalities in network marketing. And so Amy and Sarah, I think y'all are probably both red. And then I'm a blue, and I think Lauren said she's a helper, so she's a yellow. And then we have these science people that are green, right? Well, you know, like I said, I like that because it's an easy way to kind of characterize ourselves, and we can say, yeah, I'm blue, or yeah, I'm red. But I really, like I said, I want to focus in on the specifics of your Enneagram, okay? But before we do this, I want y'all to kind of understand the psychology, and not just the psychology, but kind of how we act. Like, there's two parts of your brain. So you have this, a lot of people even, they call it reptilian brain, meaning that this is your innate, like deep-seated, like the things like breathing, the things like eating, like your natural instincts come from this one area of the brain, like the deep part of your brain. Brainstem, that place. And then we have this more evolved portion of the brain. This is where our rational thought comes from, right? So scientists have recently started really looking into what they call neuromarketing, okay? And this is recording how people's brains actually light up when it comes to marketing and ads, right? So there's two different studies that I really want y'all to kind of think about. So the first study, they had two ads with a guy named Joe on both of these ads, okay? And it's just basically his picture. And at the simultaneously, as they gave the picture to these two groups of people, the first group were given his picture and simultaneously given a cup of hot coffee. So they're given this ad, and they're given hot coffee. And then the other group was given the ad with Joe with a cold cup of something, right? What do y'all think happened when both groups had to record how they felt about Joe? Well, that basic instinct kicked in because they had to record their responses immediately. That the instinctual feeling within them when given the hot cup, they felt warm, they felt secure, they felt like connected to Joe. The group with the cold did not have the same response, right? They felt like they didn't trust him. And so this really shows that there is a lot of people, when they're making decisions when it comes to marketing and sales and purchasing something, there is something not logical about it. Okay, that was the first little study. The second study really kind of gets into the science, which I love. The second study, so what happened was they were given a logical ad, which had data, which had, BioCleanse, has magnesium, and all the stuff. And then they had a non-logical ad where it really evoked emotion, right? What do y'all think happened? This is what really kind of surprised me. It's not what you would think. The brain didn't light up with the non-logical emotional. It actually lit up with the logic, okay? Why? Because the EEGs they were reading the way the prefrontal cortex was lighting up. That prefrontal cortex, the areas of the brain with logic lit up, okay? But what happens when you're thinking? your overthinking and your impulse control is actually prompted. Okay. So people, when all your leaders are telling you, do not throw up plexus, it's not just because don't throw up plexus. It's because from a physiological brain perspective, the more information that you're giving them with data, they're also thinking about reasons why they probably shouldn't. There's also think that impulse control is gearing up. Okay, so they're thinking about, oh, well, what about this other product? I'm comparing these other products. What is it in the budget? So they have more time to rationalize and figure it out. But when you come to people from an emotional standpoint, that area of the brain hasn't lit up at all. If you think about your purchases, like, I don't know about you guys, but I buy more random stuff off of Instagram than I do Facebook. Why? Because Instagram is really picture oriented. It's very, very, you don't have to think, you don't have to read, you see it, you want it, you buy it. So this is really kind of the brain perspective model. But I don't ever want to discredit, because we've done trainings over, really telling stories and writing out a lot of stuff. So I do not want to discredit that. But when you're thinking about bringing in your audience that isn't necessarily your best friends, we're thinking about these just acquaintances, right? A lot of times our acquaintances are not going to read a lot in order to connect with you. So studies now show that our average attention span is 8 seconds, you guys. It went from 12 seconds a few years ago to now only 8. So it's vital. It's very, very important that we connect with people on an emotional level, but do it in a pretty quick fashion. Okay, so we have to think about that whenever we're marketing. So we know we are hardwired for connection. I mean, this is like fact. Okay, they look at models of rodents, and if you separate them from people, then they start having higher levels of cortisol. They start showing, depression and immunity. We know that all mammals need connection. Okay, it's premortal. I mean, it's something that's in our DNA. We also know, like babies and infants, if they're not exposed to connection and touch and feel, they're going to experience something known as failure to thrive. They're not going to grow. So it's in our DNA. It's who we are as people to connect with people. So that those emotional bonds, they really need to be there. Okay. And I do this because I love people, y'all. I love Plexus because it allowed me to help other people and to be there for people. And my passion is helping people understand who they are. And so I don't ever want you guys to think, when I'm talking about the psychology of marketing, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to train you to manipulate people, because it's not about that. It's about truly understanding yourself, and understanding yourself is a big, big key, because this is not just Plexus. This is your life, right? But also understanding and connecting with people on an emotional level. So we talked about the neuromarketing, we talk about the brain's response. So what does this mean for you? It means that I want you in your business to really be able to break down those walls. We all have this persona, like this, and it's not like, I think persona means like fake image or something like that in Latin or whatever. But we all have this. I mean, you're not fake. I mean, everybody has this self that they want to portray to society, right? But in order to really become self-actualized and have that meaning and that depth with your relationships, you've got to be able to break down and be who you are, okay? So how many of you guys, I hope all of you guys have, if you don't know what your Enneagram type is, there is an app called Enneagram app. And it's really easy. It takes about maybe 5 minutes to do. And let me tell y'all, you can find all kinds of tests free on the internet. And I've done 3, and every single time I think there is no way that I'm going to get the same number. And every single time I get the same number of 7. And so I really want you to look, and if you haven't taken the test, like I said, Enneagram app will give you the test. It doesn't take but a few minutes, but there's 9 different types of Enneagrams. So number 1 is the reformer. And with the reformer, it's the rational, principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionists. Number 2 is the helper, and helpers are caring and generous, people-pleasing, but they can sometimes be possessive. 3 is the achiever. They're adaptive, excelling, driven, and image conscious. 4 is the individualist, and they are expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and sometimes temperamental. 5 is the investigator, perspective, but they can be, and they're innovative, secretive, and isolated. The loyalist, they are engaging, responsible, anxious. These usually have like 2 good ones and 2 bad ones, or 2 weaknesses. And we have the enthusiast, spontaneous, but sometimes scattered. 8 is the challenger. They're confident, willful, and confrontational. And 9 is the peacemaker. And the peacemaker are usually receptive, reassuring, agreeable, but sometimes complacent. Now, I want to make sure that you guys don't get too locked in with that, because it's not just you have different ones. Like with the app, it'll give you like your dominant and then like some sub areas. But I like I said before, I really believe in order to be our best selves, we need to work with our strengths, especially in the beginning, okay? Because what happens is, just like watching these trainings, you're going to start comparing yourself. And we all know that comparison is the thief of joy, okay? There's no way that I'm ever going to be like Sarah. There's no way I'm ever going to be like Amy. I am me, y'all. And so whenever, like before this training, just an example, before this training, I started getting in my head like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to share this information without looking like a goober, right? Well, I know my strengths, and my strength is just talking to y'all, right? Whenever I go on this thing, I get distracted and y'all can kind of see me, and I'm like, where am I? But work with your strengths, okay? Because that's going to give you that confidence. Everybody on here has the potential to be a diamond, okay? But you have to be able truly to dig deep, unpeel the layers of your onion, and find those strengths and find those weaknesses, and really work with both of those things. Okay, so I'm reading my notes again. Another thing from a counseling standpoint, I really want y'all to think about too, is I think that whenever we get nervous, whenever we're talking to people, like in person even, or even like doing voice text. I mean, how many of you guys have done a voice text? And now on Facebook, you can delete them. You're like, ooh, I second guess myself. I don't think that sounds right, and delete it, right? Don't get in your head. Just be yourself, okay? Just be yourself. Yeah, sometimes it takes practice in the beginning, and depending on your Enneagram type and your personality, sometimes, like for me, like with my personality, if I were to do it over and over, I'd be there like all day trying to get the perfect, but if I just go with it and throw it out there and just be me, most of your people will know you. They know when you're trying to be something you're not also. Another thing from a counseling standpoint, I'm squirreling again, but, and I don't think a lot of people understand this. Pausing and having moments of not speaking is okay. Well, a lot of times we think, oh, I gotta fill information. Oh my gosh, I only got 10 minutes left. You get in your head about all these things and you forget it's okay to breathe. It's okay to have those uncomfortable pauses, okay? And people don't understand that. More than anything in this is a people business. When you connect with people and you're not pretending to be something that you're not, that's when the connection's gonna really begin. And I know that I've still got 10 minutes left. I'm sorry, but I don't know if y'all wanted me to do the action step, but I have a few action steps for you guys. Okay. And you can add whatever you want. First of all, I want you to if you don't know your Enneagram type, I want you to download that app or get on the, another website that's really good is EnneagramInstitute.com. Okay. And that one really gives a lot of details, okay, on your type. So the first call to action is I want you to figure out your Enneagram type. Okay. And then I want you to tell your upline what your number is. Okay. If you don't work closely with your upline, I want you to get that accountability partner that Amy and Sarah were talking about and tell them your Enneagram type. Okay. Because what happens is, I mean, we're all a family here, right? I mean, half of the people on this on this call are not, you know, in my upline, but they're my family. You know, we are sideline sisters and brothers. You know, we come together as a family. So what happens is once you really truly get an understanding of who you are, what your strengths are, you know, and after a certain amount of time, we're going to start working on our weaknesses, right? But how do you do that? You get with people that are strong in the other areas, right? I know nothing about data analysis, crunching numbers, but thank goodness my sister is really proficient in that and she's great at that. So what do? I reach out to her. So that it's very, very important that we find the other people that have the strengths in the areas that we're weak in so we can grow together. So that, and then another thing I really want you to do today is I want you to make a vulnerable, emotional post, okay? Not plexus related. I want you to really dig deep. And, you know, in different Enneagram numbers, sometimes this is hard for people to really break down that what I'm going to be perceived as and just share like raw. And you guys, right now, 2020 is so hard for a lot of people. Okay. People are hurting. People are struggling. People are putting on a brave face, but don't underestimate the power of being vulnerable. Okay. Because even if you are that person that are like, okay, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to be positive, and you're just deep down in the core, you know that this is we've never seen anything like this in our lives, you know? So don't forget that, and don't underestimate the fact that everybody is dealing with this too, you know? So be raw, be emotional. Remember, don't use too much verbiage, because sometimes that really takes away from the power of your post. But make a post today very raw, very emotional, very just connecting with everybody. I think that was it.
Thank you so much, Tami. It was such good information. We did the Road Back to You book study on our team. It was probably a year or two.
Couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And learning the Enneagrams has been such a game changer, because I feel like with the color personalities, it's great and it's a good starting point, but you can put yourself in a box, or you can put other people in a box and feel like that color completely defines them, which couldn't be further from the truth. Where the Enneagram gives you kind of a roadmap where it talks about your strengths and your weaknesses, talks about where you go in times of stress, talks about where you can be as an unhealthy version of yourself versus a healthy version of yourself. And it's just so introspective, and it helps you just capitalize, like you said, on your strengths, but also brings awareness to the weaknesses, so that you are not so, you know, falling into it on accident. And so you can be intentional in your life. And I love it too, because it helps you communicate with others. And so it's a brilliant skill to be the most authentic version of yourself, but then also to connect with others when you can think, okay, she's probably, you know, you don't want to ever type anybody, but it teaches you to maybe be a little bit more like empathetic and tolerant of how somebody might react in a certain situation, or what they might be doing, or why they might be thinking certain things. So I love this. It's brilliant, you guys. We're going to return at 11:30. Or did you have anything to add to that? Sorry.
No, so I did want everyone though to take the test, and so I don't know, I don't know what my number is. This is embarrassing. I did the book study, and when we did the book study, the book said, don't take the test first, read the book. So then I did, and then I went to a website, and it was like 47 pages to get my number. So I don't know what number it is that I quit, like on page 4. Like, I'm out. I ain't got time for this. I'm out. So I did though. I just did the app. So I did my type, but could you tell us that website again? I want to put it in the chat because I want to see if the second test backs that up.
I think it was the Enneagram Institute.
Oh, she's muted.
Oh, sorry. She's putting it in the chat.
Oh, she's putting it in the chat. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, guys, see you back at 11:30. We're going to have Nikki Hinkle, Diamond, give us some great training on social media. So we'll see you back in a few.
Thanks, Tammy.